justice for all.
So, first off is a roll call of members present.
Yeah, just speak up a little bit, Jared. I can't hear
Roll call of members present. Jared O'Connell, Vice Chair.
Russell Blanchett, member.
Jesse No, alternate.
Travis Tucker, member.
Steve Gannon, Selectman's rep.
Okay, so we are missing a few members today. So next is appointment of an alternate. Jesse, would you like to vote tonight because of our absent members?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So next up is public input on non-agenda items. Does anyone in the public have any input on items not on our agenda?
I want to talk about something with you guys.
Okay. Please state your name and address for the
Corey
record.
Flint, 123 Hillcrest Road. This weekend, I submitted a citizens warrant article on removing the sign prohibition on Albuquerque Avenue, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. I understand that you guys were working on something similar to that, but it was to allow town entities to put signs within Albuquerque. And as not being a town entity and representing a couple of the things that go on in town, I did not feel that I wanted to come and ask permission to put up a sign for our parade or for our car show, or for, if I wanted to put skeletons out on in the right of way with signs. So that's why I put forth that citizens warrant. I came here to talk to you if maybe we can come to negotiate a better warrant article that maybe work for both of us. And if we can, if you can produce something that allows me the freedoms to put signs out in the right of way in front of my house, then I can withdraw my citizens warrant. I'm not trying to cause problems in the town. All I want to do is have the ability to put signs out in front of my house and along Albuquerque for the non-town events that we do.
Okay, so they have a petition, right?
Right.
So when would that officially be?
The petition article has to go to hearing by the planning board, and it has to go on the ballot. It also has to say approved or not approved by the planning board.
So when would that come before us?
The next hearing, and, well, we have the petition
January.
article, so the next hearing would be in January.
So let me look at the date.
You have to be before.
January 6th. We do have on our agenda later this evening the one that the board proposed.
So we should probably do most of this discussion during the agenda item, because it is basically directly relates to the agenda.
Okay,
item.
I thought I would let you know where my position was so that we can move forward.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Thank you.
commenting.
Thank you.
Any other public input on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none. So first up on our agenda is a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit at 64 Cutler Road, tax map 2, lot 100, owner Michael and Connie Jackson. Is the applicant present?
Yeah.
Okay, please come up and so yeah, we have the application in front of us. Would you
My
like-
name's Mike Jackson, 64 Cutler Road, Litchfield.
And Connie Jackson, 64 Cutler Road, Litchfield.
Would you like to talk about your permit application?
I would, I'm looking to put an ADU on my property. I sent in, I think it was to Joan, she has my plan, my plot plan. I went to the town, I spoke with Matt, we went over the plans, and he calculated the numbers that we needed. So we're moving forward with that.
Okay. So what we have so there's this is a detached, accessory dwelling unit, right?
Correct.
'Cause, yeah, the attached ones are allowed by right.
Do you want these pictures, Jared, because they're not sideways?
Sure.
And
And we do have pictures as to what it will actually look like. This is our current house. Okay. The ADU will go on, if you're looking at the house on the right-hand side of the deck, and then there's a garage foundation, and the ADU will be built on the garage foundation, extended. The house will look identical to this one,
Yeah, they're both the same company.
absolutely identical.
Nice. Is it reusing the existing foundation for something? Or-
We're using the existing foundation for the garage that we didn't build. So we're using that foundation.
When did you put in that foundation?
Foundation was put in 1980.
Wow.
Yeah. We're very patient.
So. Total livable.
What is the size of the foundation?
Foundation size is 26-36.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't sure if it was, I saw it was overall 26-36, but I didn't know if that was a foundation or you're doing more to it or, so that's the existing.
No, the actual foundation is gonna be 26-36.
And that exists already.
No, what exists there is 26-24. We're moving it, I believe, 12 feet. We're gonna add to it.
is this the bottom floor?
Correct, there's only one floor. The second floor is just storage.
Do any members of the board have any
Oh, this is-
questions?
I do. It says livable space, 736, but 26 by 36 is 936 square feet.
Right, I submitted it, when I submitted it to Matt, the building inspector,
Yeah, I get
he
that.
took it and he did the calculations for me because I was confused on how it all worked. And those are the numbers he gave me in order to apply.
Yeah, so my confusion comes into the point where, why is an ADU measured differently than a home, where with a home, we measure the complete envelope of the building?
Right.
And with an ADU, I don't know where it came from, but people are thinking that stairwells, when you have a stairwell here, you have a closet, you have a washroom that is not part of the livable space, but from my understanding, everything within the envelope of the building is livable space,
You can't
like
answer
your
that.
home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not here to debate the legality of it.
We don't
I
know.
went to the town, this is what they told me.
That's what Matt had said, he takes out closets and stairwells. He said if we change it and up the square footage, then he would go by the foundation size, but now he's not going by the foundation.
Where did he gather this information from? Because to me, that does not sound correct.
It's, the last building inspector and this building inspector have done it that way.
It's tradition.
This might, we are going to
We
be
need to,
discussing.
we need to straighten that
the-
out.
We do need to straighten that out. As a planning board, that's an action we have in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's not part of this conversation right now.
yeah, that will be now the next item on our agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is discussing the changes to the ADU zoning. But this
That's
is,
what Matt calculated for them.
yeah, this is the historical way it's been done, so we're not going to question this
That's why I was
application.
asking about the foundation footage already, what's
Right.
in there in
Correct.
place.
I
Where you
understand.
have a, what'd you say, 26 by 24, and you're going to add?
Yeah, so, yeah, definitely something to probably clarify in our zoning.
Yep, we've got work to do there.
It's- Okay, any other questions for the applicant? If not, we can move on to the permit. So I'll have to bring that up. Okay, so conditional use permit, so in addition to the performance standards, which the inspector, is the one responsible, the main one responsible for checking that, the planning board can grant a conditional use permit for a detached ADU, with these conditions. The detached ADU shall be located only in the side or rear yard of the property. This one's beside the building. A detached ADU shall not contain more than 2 bedrooms. Yeah, master bedroom, master bath. So yeah, only one bedroom. Yeah. Parking and driveway access for the ADU shall be provided in a location and manner that maintains the single family appearance of the property. Yeah, it's reusing the same
Correct.
foundation even. No additional curb cut shall be provided. Again, it's using the same driveway. The detached ADU shall be developed within an existing garage, barn, or other similar outbuilding, or shall be designed to be consistent with the character and appearance of the accessory buildings customary for a single-family dwelling, such as a garage, barn, or other outbuilding. You said it's gonna look very similar to the main.
It'll be the same company that we work for, Ward Cedar Log Homes. It'll be the exact same. It'll look exactly the same.
That's good. F, the detached ADU shall be located on the same lot as the primary dwelling, and said lot shall not be subdivided in a manner that results in the separation of the detached ADU from the primary dwelling unit. And G, the detached ADU primary dwelling or lot shall not be converted to a condominium or other form of legal ownership. And there's more to it, and that's just some things you can talk to the inspector on the technicalities of that. Does anyone on the board have any questions or comments? Do you think it's ready to grant the permit?
I believe it is.
Okay, so if someone would like to make a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the planning board grant the applicant, Michael E. Jackson, 64 Cutler Road, Litchfield, New Hampshire, conditional use permit to erect ADU as described in the plan set submitted.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Travis. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I am a no, just based on ambiguity of the measurement differences.
Okay, and all those abstaining? So, motion passes 4-1-0. Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck
And
with your.
Connie, you need to call Paul Kelly at the fire department to get a separate house number for detached.
I was gonna ask you who we go through for that.
Paul Kelly.
Okay, Paul.
Right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
I take those papers back, Jerry.
Okay, so next on our agenda is a public hearing per New Hampshire RSA 675:7. 1, accessory dwelling units, section 507, all ADUs going to the building inspector and remove minimum square footage requirement. 2, home occupations, section 504, all home occupations evident to the public must apply for a conditional use permit from the planning board. Family home and group childcare requirements are added regarding ages and hours per day. 3, definition of a duplex / two-family residence amended. 4, requirements for solar energy systems, new section 2300. Okay, so for this I'll bring it to Jay McGar.
I'll just run through them briefly, starting with the accessory dwelling units. So the intent here was to comply with recent changes in state law. Essentially that ADUs must now be allowed by right, both attached and detached. And so this attempts to address that issue, along with a couple of others that I'll just quickly run through. So it did not address the issue of measurement. That's certainly something that we could add. So this is the first public hearing. We have the opportunity for holding actually two more because we have a lot of time this year. So just starting off, the changes, hopefully this is true for everybody's copies. The first change is section 50704, performance standards. The way the ordinance is currently constructed is that attached ADUs are allowed by right. Detached ADUs require a conditional use permit, as was obvious earlier this evening. So the first change is actually not related to the statutory change. It is in section 50704B, and that is a suggestion of, first of all, eliminating the minimum square footage requirement of 500 square feet under the thinking of if somebody wants a smaller unit, why not let them have a smaller ADU? And then we look at 800 square feet. It's kind of a placeholder, but we looked at 800 square feet as the maximum. I think the board had a lot of conversation around what should that maximum be. So I think that's probably something that we're hoping to get some input on what people's thinking is. I will say the thinking was certainly that that meant within the footprint of the space, but nevertheless. So the next change is on the following page of at least my handout. That's on section 50706. Most significantly, it eliminates the reference to conditional use permits, and the criteria below was for conditional use permits. It replaces that term with additional requirements for detached accessory dwelling units. So essentially, the requirements mostly remain the same. It's just no longer a conditional use permit. Again, the references to that have been removed. Moving on down in that section, it's the building inspector who has to be satisfied that the criteria is issued, not the planning board, because these will no longer come to the planning board. The next significant change is, really just to wording around accessory buildings customary. It simply just says, that it's designed to be consistent with the appearance of the primary single-family dwelling, period. We eliminated references to that it should look like a garage or a barn or another outbuilding. And part of the reason for that is you're really no longer supposed to have design standards for ADUs that are different than design standards for any single-family home. So again, that's just really a minor word change. So those are the only changes that were suggested. And again, could there be more? Maybe, but these were really intended to address the statutory changes. Shall I go on to the next?
We should
Or take input on this one?
probably take input on each one. So this is a public hearing, so would any members of the public like to come up and discuss this ADU change?
Hi, my name is Vincent LaMagna. I live at 36 Woodhawk Way. Last year I put an ADU on for my parents. They moved up from New Jersey, and 800 square feet going by a pad definition is absolutely absurd. It's way too small for two people. You can't put a second bedroom in anywhere. The living space is just very small. Some lots in Litchfield are, zoned differently. I had the space that I could go to the left of my house and not interfere with anything. Other places, you have to turn them sideways. You have to do all sorts of weird things with the property lines. I agree with removing the minimum, because if somebody wants to put a 200 square foot tiny house, go for it. But I think that the maximum should be raised, either to ideally 1,200 square feet for a pad, wall to wall. Don't remove anything. If you're going to cut out closets and stairways and other things like that, then it needs to go up to at least 1,000. That allows for a second bedroom, that allows for a second closet, things like that. My builder did a really good job at using every possible space to put whatever, wherever, to make everything work and all that, but just could not figure out how to put a second bedroom in. And that's something that my parents ideally would have enjoyed having. But that's just my input on it. Thank you.
For your
Thank you.
input. Any other members of the public?
Hi, everybody. Steve Perry, 5 Lidston Lane. So I'm here to speak, I'm not against what he said. Actually, I kind of agree with what he said. He's talking about pad. I agree completely. It should go by external dimensions. I do feel that your size should probably go up. I don't know if 950 is enough. A lot of surrounding towns are 1,000. I don't know if the surrounding towns do or don't include closets, stairwells, and everything like that. I think, from what I saw, one of them did on one and the other one didn't. I can't speak for sure, but 1,000 square feet seems to be Hudson and Bedford, okay? I think that would be, but I'm not trying to build one, reasonable. But I just want it to be clean because I'm not speaking on behalf of the zoning board, but I sit on the zoning board. And it's very confusing to try to figure out these calculations the way it's done now. So I mean, stairwells, closets aren't included, laundry's not included, but is the platform before the stairs, is that included? Like the landing, is it not? Like, so there's a lot of gray area. I think it would just square it all up, make it nice and easy if you go by external dimensions, but you're probably gonna need to raise the square footage.
Yeah, I know that if we do something like how typical residential areas calculated, like the only thing that's not calculated is, or not added is stairwells only count once rather than twice, as you can imagine.
So the other thing that we have the issue with on the zoning board is the fact that the gross living area, okay? I don't believe we have a definition for gross living area. With that, I know that they fall under the state statutes, and that's where taking out the closets and all that stuff comes in. So that's what's being gone by, because that's a loophole for us. So
But it's
maybe
just for
either at
ADUs,
least correct one or the other.
It's ADUs but not homes?
Yeah, but yeah, we don't restrict the size of homes though, so.
That's true, that's true.
so.
I agree with you. 800 is too small, you know, and I agree with you too, it should be bigger. I don't know about 1,200, but I also think that we need a consistent way of measuring the home. Not only for building, but taxing purposes too. You know, if we're gonna do outside square footage, whatever you do inside, you do. But it should be the envelope of the building, I believe, and I do believe it has to be bigger.
I think we just need to simplify it, because right now, from my standpoint, when I sit on the zoning board, it's almost impossible for me to calculate. So I have to take the word for it of whatever Matt puts up there and go with it. So if we just went nice and simple, it'd make it a lot easier, I think, for everybody. Just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Steve.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just want to give you, I did a little research. I'm Pierre Garan, 15 Chasebrook Circle in Litchfield.
Thank you.
I'm a builder in town. I've done 6 ADUs in the past 2.5 years. One in Londonderry and the rest in Litchfield. So 800 square feet just isn't a lot of space to get everything you want. Taking the closets out and the stairwells out help, because if someone's property line can only give them a certain size, that helps them in that fact. You know what I mean? But I think 1,200 square feet would be ideal. If they wanted to do the envelope of 1,200 square feet, that could get them the 2 bedrooms. I'm doing one now on Newstead. It was tight to get those 2 bedrooms in there. But what helped was the stairway or the closets, you know what I mean? To help the situation. And we're doing more and more. I got another one I'm doing on Mike Lane. So, just want to put my 2 cents in on that. And I think, and as you see, it's an average of 1,025 for, I had Londonderry. Well, Londonderry does it by percentage. 40% of what your living space is now.
The existing structure for
Yeah.
an in-building ADU addition.
Yep.
Yep.
In Bedford, I think I said is 1,000 square feet. Wyndham is 950. Salem is 950. So I think 1,025 or 1,200 would be ideal. And because of the shortage, right, or because the things are so expensive, you're seeing more people come back home. And it's the actual kids with their families. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I
So-
have firsthand experience with that.
Right, right. So that's,
As a builder, do you think 1,200 would allow you to put in a comfortable 2 bedrooms? I mean, they'll be still kind of small.
it'd be still kind of small, but, I mean, we're at 800, right?
Right. That's
So
very small.
1,200 would help us out,
Don't-
and it would help them out, you know?
Do you have any experience on how the other town's inspectors count the livable space?
I think, Londonderry might be taking out closets and things like that when they go about their, and I think Salem and Bedford do the same. So everybody's trying to get as much space as they want, right? And in the past, I'd go back to the building inspector and they'd say, no, it's too big, you know what I mean? And we're struggling to get more space, you know? So I end up putting bureaus in the wall, right? To gain that more space, you know?
Yeah,
So,
everybody
just to
has
be a
their
little
own-
creative,
Everybody has their own interpretation of what is included, is
Right.
hallways, our stairs, are
Right.
they
but that actually helps the people, right?
Yeah, I completely agree, yeah.
Especially when they have, you know, like I said, their property. If they can't put that extra 2 feet of foundation, let's get it somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm looking more along the lines, just simply for consistency.
Right,
Ease of understanding of what should be in place.
Sure.
So when we do taxes, when we do building inspections, whatever, when they come before the board, if they have to come before the board, we know we have a minimal set. And why you're coming before the board is because you need a variance because it's gonna be a little bit bigger, or it's gonna overhang a little.
sure. But if you keep it consistent, saying you're gonna take the closets out, the stairway out, and you have that in writing, that only helps everything, right? And then everybody knows.
Yeah, but say, like, one concern I have is tax purposes. What are they being taxed on? You know, there's, the house is one, the ADU is different, you know,
I think
just
you should be
should
still
measure it
taxed on the whole thing,
thing,
right?
yes. But then you're gonna have people saying, well, why am I being taxed on this?
No,
Because
yeah, but that's, you know, you're asking for one thing one time and you're asking for another time, you know what I mean?
Make it
Yeah,
consistent.
yeah, make it consistent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Laura Gandy. I live at 3 Chamberlain Drive. I am the chairperson of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, but my comments here are based on a private citizen, although my experiences do include my time on the zoning board. I just wanted to pass out some of this stuff.
Thank you.
So my first comment, just, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the square footage of it. I don't have an opinion either way as to what that number should be, but I do want to point out that these are accessory dwelling units, not two-family homes or duplexes or anything like that, so they're not meant to be, nor do I think the town wants to enact any type of zoning that has every lot with the potential to be two-family. Again, it's accessory, and there's a reason why it's called accessory, because it is supposed to be smaller and incidental, and the average size of a home in New Hampshire that I just Googled is right around 1,900 to 2,000 square feet average. So taking that into effect, I mean, consider it, but again, my whole point is it's an accessory dwelling, not a two-family, and if this board moves forward with certain provisions of the accessory dwelling unit statute, it could very well result in every lot having the ability to be two-family. So with that, I did look through the proposed changes, and I did have some comments to that and also some additional changes, and I'll just go through pretty much similar to what Jay did. I was looking at the 507.02, the purpose. I would like to see some additional language added to that, and some proposed language that I was thinking to add at the end of that sentence would be while maintaining the single-family characteristics of the neighborhood. So that would be an additional language I'd like to see added into 507.02. The definition section, 507.03. I think it would be cleaner and neater if we used, on the packet that I gave you, the definitions, 674:71. It describes accessory dwelling unit, an attached unit, and a detached unit. I find that that's always beneficial if we stick to the definitions provided for in state statute. So I would suggest some modifications to the 507.03, the definition section. 507.04 B. Again, I mentioned briefly about the 800 feet, but my other concern is, it says of the gross living area above ground. When you look at state statute, and that's 674:72. It says the total living space, not the gross living area. So again, to be consistent with state statute, that's again 674:72. I would recommend that gross living area be deleted and replaced with total living space, just again to be consistent with state statute. And now you get into what is that and how that is defined. We don't have that definition. We should. That definition, to my understanding, is not contained in the building code or in state statute, so it would be something for this board to consider implementing. But I do echo the sentiments of Mr. Perry about his experience on the zoning board. Number C, 507.04C, I think that we just should be flipping a word. I know that wasn't mentioned, but I believe it should read one accessory dwelling unit per single-family dwelling instead of one accessory dwelling per unit single-family dwelling. I think that's just an existing thing that we could probably correct since we're correcting things. D, the owner of the property shall occupy either the primary or secondary dwelling unit, and state statute does allow us the ability to make sure that that is happening. So I would recommend this additional language. So it will read, the owner of the property shall occupy either the primary or secondary dwelling unit and shall demonstrate that one of the units is his or her principal place of residence. The town of Litchfield may establish reasonable regulations to enforce this requirement. And again, that's contained in 674:72. Roman numeral 6, so state statute does allow us to do that, and I highlighted that for the board as well. So I think that change for D would be beneficial. For F, it says attached ADU shall have an internal door connecting the primary and secondary dwelling units to facilitate family interaction and conversion back to a single-family dwelling. I do not believe that is part of the newly revised state statute, so I would recommend removing that, just so we are consistent with the state statute. And then we do have a limitation on bedrooms for detached. We do not have that here, so I don't know if the board would consider adding in K, just like we have for detached, that the attached ADU shall not contain more than 2 bedrooms. That's just a thought, just again to make it consistent. And then when I get to 507.06, E, again, I would add in language in a manner consistent with the character of the neighborhood. The concerns that I have heard regarding ADUs is they don't want to see Litchfield turn into Manchester. So again, it's an accessory dwelling, it's supposed to be smaller in size, incidental to the primary dwelling. We do have the ability to enact some type of performance standards, and I think having additional language there that gives the town the ability to weigh in on whether or not we are changing the character of the neighborhood, I think is very important to the town and to the residents of the town. So I would recommend.
Sorry, Laura, you're on E?
I was on, yes, so 507.06E, I just added in.
06, okay.
06, yep, so I skipped right to the detached, Jay, sorry about that.
Sorry, that's right.
Yep, so in a manner consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And again, just going back to, I think that's important for the town to consider from a regulatory standpoint, how we want our town to look and feel. And I know as part of the Economic Development Committee, the rural and agricultural feel of the town was listed as a high priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Jay?
I think I did.
Any other members of the public that wish to comment on the ADUs? Come on up.
Connie Jackson, 64 Cutler Road, Litchfield. Having been here and talked about what we want to do for our ADU, I have an issue with the size, okay, because I have to agree with Laura being an accessory unit. We would have loved to have 2 bedrooms. I mean, there's no question, but because of being under 800 square feet in town, you can't put 2 bedrooms in. We had to take off a bifold door to the wash and dryer to get into the limited amount of space that we were allowed in our property. The company we work for, Wood Cedar Log Homes, has started to get an ADU division, and they're out of Maine. So it's been very interesting because most of the people up there who are buying them, when they talk to the building inspector, it's not based on square footage, it's based on a percentage of the existing house out there. In some of the towns in Maine, they go from 33 all the way up to 78%. So it's been kind of an interesting thing. And your comment about the envelope, I have to agree with you because we sat with Matt for an hour and a half trying to figure out how we could get it down to meet the criteria that was necessary. And then the other option was to go for that exemption, which I don't think you should be giving exemptions. If you set rules, I think you should stay the rules. It's just my opinion. So back to Maine. Maine's found it's worked much better doing the percentage. But then you get a house that's like 7,000 square feet. You're putting a very large ADU next door to it. But those people are accustomed to having that, and that's what they want. But then you take a house that's maybe 1,000 square feet, and you take 75% of 1,000 square feet, you're bringing it down to something very minuscule. So it's kind of a catch-22, but I think the towns need to address it. I'm not a proponent of the minimum, but I am a proponent of maximum. And I don't like the idea that it can match the house in size. I mean, our foundation is going to look identical to our house to keep it inconsistent with our neighborhood. That was a big primary thing for us. But the limited space inside of it, we're taking out the whole second floor and making storage. So it's totally all open, it'll be closed off, that kind of thing. It'll never be used for a bedroom or anything like that. But to live in the first floor of my house, to square it down, is gonna be very tight. But that's what we opted for. Otherwise, we just stay where we is. But I do think you need to set some limits, and I don't really like the idea of exemptions. I don't think people should be able to go in and say, well, gee, it's not changing the character of my neighborhood, so why can't I be bigger? I think if you said it, you said it.
No, so my point with the exemption is, say you're gonna have 1,000 square feet, but you have to go over the boundary line, not the boundary line, the setback line by
Right.
a foot or two to make it fit, as long as it works. That's what I mean about, I don't want,
Sure.
I definitely agree. We don't want ADU turning into a duplex,
No.
The
only reason ours was not a duplex is because of the amount of acreage that we have.
Yeah.
There's a criteria of, was it 2 acres?
Yeah.
To have for a duplex, which we could not do. So that's the ADU. But, outside of it, it's going to look like a duplex if people drive by. That's what they're gonna think we have. But inside, it's totally different. It's like having an apartment in Manchester. Anyways, so good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public that wish to comment on the ADU changes? Okay, well, it's a public hearing, so at any point, if you would like to discuss, just let us know. So now we have a lot of feedback, so what does the board wish to do following that feedback?
And I've been taking notes, so certainly if it's a will of the board, I can incorporate the comments that Laura has provided. I think it's prudent to come up with a total living space definition that would live in the definition section, so it will apply across the board, so I can do that. I'm not sure what the board wants to do with square footage.
Well, we're still in the public hearing. Let's complete the public hearing on the other matters in front of us, and then we have a zoning workshop immediately following the public hearing where we can really work on this.
It's a good point.
Focus on getting this right.
Yeah, that's one way we can do it. Is that what the board wishes to do?
I'm fine with that. I don't want us to like forget any detail. If we get to the end of all
Right.
4 things, then we're kind of like, what do we want to do with each one? But I'm fine with that if we.
So I guess for information purposes, who is here for something other than the ADU? Okay. So yeah, if we just do it all now, then we're gonna keep some people waiting. Okay. So we can either discuss this further, or we can move on to home occupations. What does the board wish to do?
My preference is we continue on with the public hearing, complete the public hearing portion of our meeting, and then during our zoning workshop portion of the meeting, we work on this until we're done working on this.
Okay. I guess if no one else has a strong opinion,
That's fine with me.
we'll move on to
good.
the home occupations. So home occupation section 504. It changes some technicalities.
Right. So, this was triggered largely by a change in state law, essentially by a change in state law. It did bring forward just kind of one other relatively minor issue. So there was a statutory change this past year that essentially said that family, home, and group daycare must now be allowed by right in any residential district. I'm paraphrasing. The way we had permitted family daycare was as a home occupation. So our home occupation listed out a series of uses you could have, and then there was a special provision for family child care facilities. So we can no longer do that as a home occupation that requires planning board approval. The other thing, though, that became apparent was we have procedures for home occupations, and they require planning board review. But we were actually really never clear on what type of review that was. One of the other statutory changes regarding family child care facilities is that you also cannot require site plan review. So we have to be clear that it's not a site plan review requirement. What is a home occupation? So what we've done is this suggests characterizing home occupations. They already require planning board review, but that they would be considered a conditional use. So the first change is under section 50403, where it previously said home occupations requiring planning board approval. We now say home occupations requiring a conditional use. I should just back up and say there's a whole range of home occupations that don't require planning board approval at all. This just applies to the ones that do. So again, the first change you see is just we're now referencing conditional use. Moving on down to family child care facilities, that's section 504.4. And again, these are really to address statutory changes. So we now address family, home, and group daycare facilities. Those are two slightly different ones. And really all of the additional language that we have included is right out of the statute. So previously we had family, home, child care facilities. The only change was we now have to add at the very end that in addition to 6 children, up to 3 children attending a full day care program, a school program may also be cared for up to 5 hours per day on all school days and during all school holidays. That's as it is now. We've added the statutory language, provided that the after-school and holiday increase in capacity is permitted by the state fire code and in compliance with any local ordinance, whatever that means. We're adding it, it's straight out of the statute. And we're now adding a reference to family group daycare, which is slightly larger. That allows between 7 and 12 children. The rest of the language is really largely the same. And then finally, under section 50405, which deals with adult care facilities, once again, we note that that's a conditional use. So those are the changes that are provided. Oh, I should back up. You allow them by right or conditional use. Those are the two uses. We're going to be allowing it as a conditional use.
Okay, so pretty straightforward, just updating to be in compliance with state regulation. Does any member of the public have any comments?
Hi, Laura Gandia, 3 Chamberlain Drive. So Jay, I'm hoping that you can clarify, because in the statute, it says they're allowed by right or pursuant to a conditional use permit. So we're gonna allow it as a conditional use permit, because I know we say as conditional uses. Is that the right terminology we wanna
I'm
use?
using the term conditional use, but if you go up to section 50.03, it says home occupations requiring a conditional use permit.
Right, and then, so we have those there, then 504.4, we have family, home, and group childcare facilities as home occupations are permitted as, I don't know, is it conditional uses, because it's just a home occupation, or it's a use that it's subject to a conditional use permit?
It's it's a term that we've used, but we could certainly say are permitted, by conditional use permit.
Right, I'm just thinking just to, again, coincide
language,
with,
sure.
right, with the statute.
We could keep the language consistent, yes.
And that would be for 504.05 too, the same, just to
Right.
keep that consistent. And are we going to define family, home, and group childcare, or is that by state statute already?
Yes, it's by state statute.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment on the home occupation changes? So would these changes be considered substantive?
Yes.
Okay, so, do we wish to finalize this change for the next public hearing, or do you want to discuss that during the workshop?
We should certainly touch on it during the workshop portion of our meeting. Whether it requires additional work beyond that, we'll determine at that time.
Okay, so, next on our agenda is, definition of duplex / two-family residence is amended.
So this is wholly new language, and this came out of concerns expressed by the building inspector that we did not have a definition for what a duplex was that was adequate. Right now, if you're looking at the proposed change, the existing language remains in black and the additional language is in red. So his concern was, right now, our definition was two attached dwelling units contained in a single building. What was a single building? So there was a lot of interpretation around that. Is a breezeway connecting, two single-family homes, does that make it one building? Is that a duplex? So we had a fair amount of conversation around this, and we looked at the requirements of several other surrounding communities and put this together, certainly taking some language from others and thinking through what made sense. So the proposed definition is, I'll just read the whole thing. Duplex or two-family residence, two attached dwelling units contained in a single building, located on one lot, separated either vertically or horizontally by a fire-resistant party wall, with each unit having its own separate entrance. The area of the party wall separating the two units shall not, actually, we should have the word "be" in there, I apologize, I thought I put that in, shall not be less than 33% of the total area of the adjacent side of each dwelling unit. And the intent there is to make sure that they are actually touching, but they could be staggered, essentially. Duplexes do not include accessory dwelling units as defined in section 507(03) of this ordinance. That's the proposal.
So yeah, for some context, because of how vague the current definition is, we have had, there's basically two buildings side by side with a very, very tiny breezeway in between them. And it's like, you could just get rid of that, it wouldn't affect anything. And it very much looks like its sole purpose is to get around the spirit of, like, the technicalities of the ordinance, but obviously it doesn't follow the spirit of it. So now we're trying to clarify what a duplex is, and we wanted to make sure that there was some language in there to make sure that they were together, and we allowed them to only have 1/3 of the adjacent sides touching, so that means though at furthest they can be 2/3 offset from each other.
But there must be that party wall.
Right.
That's the key feature in this definition that was missing from the existing definition.
So, do any members of the public wish to comment on the proposed change? If you, any technicalities about it or the overlap part of it? Any comments? Sure.
15 Chestnut Circle, Pierre Durant. Shouldn't it have the same roof line as well, as saying it's a duplex?
That was like maybe required a long time ago, but a lot of people would prefer some like staggered buildings. Like right now, they don't even have to have any roof line between them right now. So we're trying to find a balance because I don't like when you have a single roof line, it creates a very boxy look.
Right, not the single roof, but the same roof line. So if it has this pitch, a 5 pitch over here, you want to have the same pitch over here to make it look consistent. You know what I mean? So you don't have a gable end with a gambrel,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
That's all.
Not required per this amended definition, but certainly a good tasteful move.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely complicate the definition if we put that in. And like the like the older definitions in the building code I don't think it required that. The main part was the party wall.
And even if we said, we added like, it should adhere to the character of the town, the units you're talking about do adhere to the character of the town, they're just very dissimilar.
Any other public comment on the definition of a duplex or two-family residence? Okay. So then we'll move on to the last thing in our public hearing, requirements for solar energy systems, new section 2300.
Right, so this is wholly new. Gonna move on down a little bit further here. Bear with me. Apologize, getting back to the top of this section. Even though I'm not going to speak to it, I don't know why I'm really paying attention to that much. But nevertheless, so this is an entirely new ordinance, and it was inspired in part by a model ordinance that Clean Energy New Hampshire was distributing or has distributed. And really the reasons behind it is right now, Litchfield ordinance is completely silent on solar. We know we do allow solar. We have roof-mounted solar in Litchfield, and we also have at least one ground-mounted system on a residential property in Litchfield. They've been permitted, but there's been no regulation around it. And again, the ordinance is silent. Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? And there's a sense that we're likely to see more solar installations on commercial sites, ground-mounted as well as roof-mounted, and possibly looking at what are dual-use systems or commercial uses. It's likely that pressure is going to continue. If people were watching MUR recently, there's a large one that's just going in. They're breaking ground on it in Concord. And that will be a primary use solar. We've seen it on other agricultural sites around the area. And then we also have some pretty significant, what we know, again, I would call dual use, but some people may have seen Pennachuck Waterworks put in a large one next to Pennachuck Middle School. Fidelity Investments has put in a very large one. You can kind of see that from the highway. So they're happening. And so the idea is, let's think about how to regulate them. So just kind of, I'm not going to read through the entire ordinance, but kind of some of the key points is, first of all, definitions. So that it provides definitions for the different types of solar. There are probably more of them out there, but the key different ones that we're tending to see. So dual use solar is the first one, and that is a solar energy system that is co-located on the same property as another use. And we've given a number of examples in here. Those can be roof mounted, they can be ground mounted. They can also include, as some people may have seen, the solar carports where you have a parking area with like the canopies that are covering them. So those would all be considered dual use.
Can I interrupt you, Jay? There's one
Yes, please.
small clerical.
Please.
It says DUEL use. Dual use.
There's still a good bit of that throughout.
There
So
is.
you are, obviously, this is not the most recent copy, because I corrected all of those changes after the last meeting. So if you're looking at
I'll
the,
fight you for that solar if you want.
sorry. So you're looking at the old version, and I apologize for that. But the new version picked up on that issue. It was put like 3 different ways, so we picked up on that. So moving on down, I'm not going to go through all the definitions, but there are several of them. Obviously, we define solar carport, roof mounted, etc. So moving on down, I'm in the proposed section 2304, where we start talking about general requirements for accessory use ones. And, again, we kind of talk what they are. So just some of the key highlights are roof mounted solar. We look at the pitch of the roof, and essentially we want to limit the degree to which they can exceed the peak of the roof. So here it's no more than 10 inches above the peak of the roof. And we do note they're exempt from height requirements. Ground-mounted solar systems have to meet the setbacks for an accessory structure. And ground-mounted solar has to be adequately screened from view from surrounding residential uses and public highways. Roof-mounted solar are exempt from those requirements. Pretty obviously, you can see roof-mounted solar wherever you go. And it also notes that solar carports are permitted as an accessory use in all non-residential districts. The next section is 2305, and this deals with ground-mounted solar systems where it is a dual use or a primary use. So here is where pointing to the map would be helpful. So this ordinance contemplates allowing solar energy systems as a primary use, only as a conditional use, and only in the northern commercial and industrial zones. If you can see this map, this area here is the northern commercial industrial zone. So in this district, ground-mounted solar would be allowed as a primary use. As you can see here, it does not abut 3A, and it doesn't, a little bit here, but for the most part, it's a really contained area. The southern, commercial industrial service area is located right here. So in those areas, it would be allowed as a primary use. By conditional use permit, I should add permit. And, but there is a specific setback from 3A, which I will get to. So the requirements where these are allowed is laid out kind of A through E on this page. Again, it has to meet setbacks, has to be adequately screened. That's the essence of these requirements. But if you're in B setbacks, it notes all solar energy systems shall be set back not less than 100 feet from Charles Bancroft Highway. Again, fencing, stormwater management. Moving on down, I'm on to page 4, site management. And then finally, there's a specific provision here for dual-use solar energy systems for agriculture. So in this case, the co-location of agricultural uses with ground-mounted solar systems would be allowed. Again, there's some certain conditions that would apply. Next is section 2306, and this is submission requirements, and this basically goes through, in addition to the normal site plan review requirements, there are several additional requirements that you would have to meet. In other words, information that you would have to provide along with your application that are specific to solar. Again, I'm not going to go through all of those. Probably the most significant ones is, to just note is in addition to specifying your clearing and grading and the equipment specifics, there has to be an operation and maintenance plan to ensure that it is, that the site is adequately kept up. There has to be an emergency response plan, and an abandonment and decommissioning plan to make sure that these are just not abandoned. And it does allow the planning board to require a bond for decommissioning once the useful life has expired. That's it. It's a lot.
Do any members of the public have any questions or comments on the proposed solar ordinance? Yeah, come on up.
Good evening, Laura Gandia, 3 Chamberlain Drive. Just a couple of questions, and I'm not well-versed in solar panels or anything like that, so I'm going to preface it with that. But I did notice on section 2305B, the setbacks, that this is allowing fencing and equipment to be put into the setback, and that's how I'm reading it. If that's the case, I would have a little bit of a pause for concern with having fencing and equipment being inside the setback. If that's a building setback, if that's what that's relating to.
So the fencing, yes, generally we do allow fencing and setbacks. If we
Right.
wanted to be different here, we could. But the wiring and equipment is only that's necessary for utility interconnection. So it's not the main components, but you have to connect to the grid that may cross into a setback.
Right, so I'm just thinking hypothetically, there are 2 parcels of land, we got a 15-foot setback, and then while I'm reading this, if I'm the non-owner, the owner that's not having the solar system put on, that my neighbor can then take a big piece of equipment necessary for the utility connection and put it right on the property line. Not saying that's happening, because I'm not well-versed in solar equipment and how that all works, but just reading this, that's what came to my mind, so I'm just putting that out there for food for thought. And the second thing I have is the 100 feet from Charles Bancroft Highway. I would actually like to see that be a bigger number. I know there's been talk about, some potential rezoning or reconfiguration of the look and feel of Charles Bancroft Highway, and I think 100 feet may not be in line in what I believe the residents want to see and maintain for the characteristic of Charles Bancroft Highway. My last question or comment would be, I know for the ground mounted, and again, I'm not familiar with these terms enough, but I know that we did say that a site plan approval will be necessary. So I'm assuming that this, if it's a residential lot on a home, they're not subject to site plan approval because the planning board wouldn't have jurisdiction over a residential lot for a site plan approval.
That's correct. I think that is addressed in here, but I will double check.
And I know there's a limitation on the residential being 10 acres or more, but I didn't know if that situation would come to fruition, and if it would, how the town would handle that, because I don't believe it could be by site plan approval.
I'll double check. I thought that was addressed, but I'm gonna have to look for it. Okay. The intent is not to require site plan approval for residential accessory use.
Right.
I thought it was in here, but I'll double check.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other public comments on the proposed solar ordinance? Okay, any further board discussion?
No, I just had a quick question for Jay. In 2305D, like that little fencing provision, were you able to find any like good photos or examples? Perchance, I know we're looking at the old version.
Of fencing?
Yeah, I know at the last meeting we just kind of perhaps wanted some visuals to give people of good examples, particularly like where there's not a lot of trees and it's like at the intersection of Pinecrest and Albuquerque situation.
So I did, but I'm not sure it's going to work because I could not connect once again to my office. But I do have a solar presentation. So let's see if it's gonna let me do, sorry, can't do PowerPoint. Let me just see. Now, I'm gonna try, let me try one more time to connect to my office one, because I did do a presentation, and I brought it on a flash drive, thinking that would take care of it. La, la, la. Let me just quickly see if this is gonna let me do it. Probably not.
The IT side of me says that you have a little circle with the red dot, says you have updates that are waiting.
Yeah, I know. Sign in, create an account. I'm gonna close PowerPoint. Let me just try that quickly. Well, I say quickly, it's not happening quickly, is it? No. So yes, I've got some really nice pictures that I can't show you. Try one more time. This means, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I would imagine that for this type of use, we'd want probably a 6-foot like white fence with vegetation.
Mhm.
That's what I would imagine.
Yeah. I know we prohibit barbed wire fences, but beyond that, yeah,
Yeah,
leaves it
that's
pretty
not
open.
the look that
Right.
we're going for.
I wanna go for the
Stopping
prison look.
somebody from putting a chain link fence up with slats on it, though.
Precisely.
I mean, to adhere to their lot or, you know, usage. Ground mounting solar, I know something about it, and ground mounting solar goes 10, 12 feet in the air. You know, you don't get a lot of solar that's 6 feet, but you can't say that you need a 10-foot fence. But saying that you have to have a specific type and style of fencing, that shouldn't be allowed either. It should just be somewhat of a privacy fence. If you wanna put 6 foot
That's
as
not
a
gonna work.
number, 6 foot's acceptable. Cause otherwise somebody could put a 2-foot fence and say, hey, well, it's a fence.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I apologize. Next time I'll have them for the show.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, the main, there is buffering, you know, that you see, but it's basically the setback combined with buffering that, you know, is being used. Fencing is more really for security.
Yeah, just looking through it, I didn't see any clarification on what was brought up regarding, like making so we don't have to have a site plan for a residential installation.
I will double check. The intent here was that site plan was required, for the primary or secondary, but I'll make sure to put that in there and make that clear.
Yeah, it was good to clarify that, yeah. So how much time do we have to get these to public hearing?
It doesn't look good. It'd have to be posted the day after Christmas.
We can do that.
If you go with January 6th.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
I can turn around the changes pretty quickly, so we can get it done.
Sounds good. So that would give us 2 potential public hearings?
Yes,
Yeah, that would probably be beneficial.
I think that'd be prudent.
Okay.
Well, you could, what about the 20th? Because the last day is the 26th. You can't
Right, but if we do it on the 6th, we still have one more opportunity,
go
so.
for the
In case
20th.
there
I
is
can get-
substantive changes, we have that window. to work
Exactly,
with.
I can get these done in time.
Okay.
Sounds good. Do we have any other changes we'd like to discuss during the workshop, or would we like to just make a motion for those proposed changes?
I think at this point, we should close the public hearing. We've gone through the entire agenda for the public hearing, and let's go straight into workshop
Okay.
and make this stuff better.
Any other comments from the public regarding any of the zoning changes that we've discussed today, especially the solar ones. We'll have more public comment during our workshop too.
Just a quick question. I thought we were gonna be discussing a change for Albuquerque, the signage.
Yeah, we don't.
In the workshop.
Yeah, that's not the public hearing.
Will
That's the
there be an
workshop.
opportunity to weigh in on that?
Yeah, we'll have, public
Okay.
comment on that.
Great,
too.
thank you.
So I think, I guess that concludes the public hearing for those zoning amendments, which brings us into our zoning workshop, where the agenda shows the temporary civic / municipal sign. in
Are you gonna
Albuquerque,
go over the are you going to go over the issues with the public hearing document? And then go into the stuff that wasn't on public hearing?
Yeah, but,
What are you gonna do, how are you gonna do this?
yeah, it might make sense to do that first, since, we,
Because the zoning workshop is news that didn't go to public hearing yet, that'll go to the next public hearing.
yep.
Well, it seems like all 4 of those items we definitely want to hear again on the 6th, right?
But you have to
Yeah, there's work
tell
to be
Jay
done.
what you want on,
So for the ADUs,
especially the ADUs.
if it's the will of the board, I can incorporate the changes, that Laura suggested. And, but it does leave open the question of, right now, it says 800 square feet. So is there a sense of what we want?
I did some research on definitions, and the standard used in appraising is the ANSI standard. But we probably don't want to require that, because that requires they would need to hire an appraiser to do that, most likely, because
Right.
there are like computer requirements in the ANSI standard, and everything has to be within like a 1/10 of an inch or something like that.
Yeah, and I said, I guess I said incorporate the changes that Laura made, but also, to include a definition for the total living area, in the definitions section, so that would be also for next time.
So then the question is, how do we want to define the area? Because the way that it was done before, the building inspector had the leeway to remove closets and stuff.
I mean, to be honest, I've been doing this a very long time. I have never heard of that anywhere.
Yeah, so what type
so
of wording do you think we should incorporate?
I think it's, a total living space within, the perimeter walls. And I'll put in there including, hallways, stairwells, et cetera. So I'll put that in the definition.
And do you think we should explicitly say that stairwells count once for the?
We could, sure.
Yeah, I think the wording similar to ANSI is that they count once.
Right, so you don't
for-
count it on each floor.
Yeah.
Because it's an open stairwell, yeah.
As Mrs. Gandia pointed out, the article says total living space, and total living space describes a living space on a property and thus does not include unfinished and unheated areas. And I think that's where the confusion comes in, because you don't typically heat your closets and you don't heat your stairways.
It's
We'll make it clear.
Heated
It's
area.
within the heated area. That's intended to exclude things like porches.
Porches and exterior staircases.
We'll just be clear. Since there's confusion, we'll make it clear.
Yep, sounds good. And with that, you will not be able to fit as big an ADU.
Right.
Right, so we might want to consider increasing the space.
Yeah, then the question is, what do we want to do? The public comment today, people want space, but they don't want to mess with the character of the neighborhood. Some of the proposals are 1,000 to 1,200. Looking at the ADUs that we've gotten using the way that the building inspector has been doing it, we've seen, let me do some quick calculations. Yeah, some of them have been 50% bigger than the, when you do this calculation.
It's a lot of closets.
Yeah, a lot of closet space. So if we apply that logic to the current cap, which is 800 square feet, right? would be 1,200.
Mhm.
So somewhere between 1,000 1,200 will probably have a similar effect on the buildings as 800 is now. So, whereas 1,000 might actually be more restrictive than what we have now. So, but some people might have concerns about the character of the neighborhood, but that's what people are basically getting away with right now. So,
So, I mean, just to clarify from what it sounds like, every kind of town surrounding us that has like a 1,000 cap is kind of excluding closets, or it seems like we haven't really arrived on what other towns are doing.
But again, I'm not aware of any town that does that. I can't say there aren't, just no community I've worked with does that.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with ADUs outside of this town that are doing that. So I obviously hear space is of the utmost importance, but I just have a little caution opening up, you know, I don't know, the floodgates, for lack of any other term, to, you know, put us in line with Nashua and maybe other regions.
Nashua's 750.
750 now?
Yeah,
So it's not 1,200?
No, there's proposed changes, but right now it's 750.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like 1,000, I mean, obviously we're gonna talk about it again, I think people will come out and kind of talk about the merits. I definitely think we need to increase it. I don't know if being the largest ADU in the region is necessarily in the best interest of the town. Just for the next hearing.
Yeah, so a unit that's 36 by 28 puts you at 1,008 square feet, which is, it's a good size.
Right.
And, you know, if you, yes, exteriors.
like the smallest typical houses I see that are single-family homes are around 1,600 square feet.
Or how much, did you say?
1,600-ish.
When, up on Pinecrest, all those houses were about 1,000 square feet. My house started at 1,000 square feet.
Yeah, so, yeah, the standards, like people's expectations for sizes have definitely gone up. So,
And obviously it's, I don't know anyone else in the region that does it, but the 40% thing is kind of interesting to think about, and the relation between a single-family home and the accessory dwelling we're permitting, because I think many of like the pre-war houses on Charles Bancroft Highway are kind of little cottages. They're not bigger than 1,500 square feet. So it's like if we allow, you know, you can build a 1,000, 1,200 square feet accessory dwelling unit, we're basically permitting a second home on that lot, which is, we just want to be careful that that is the kind of world that we want to create and that we want to visually see.
But you don't want a 10,000 square foot house having a 4,000 square foot ADU
Right.
attached.
That's also,
Right.
yeah.
Well, so you could also do it both ways. You could say up to 1,000, but it can't exceed 50% or 40% or whatever you want. You could do it both ways. Of course, it can never be less than it's 750 or.
Right.
We can't require less than 750 under any
so
circumstance.
we're gonna have to if we wanna do that, we're gonna have to have, you are always allowed 750.
Yes, we'd have to be
and
clear
you're
on that.
allowed up to 1,000 or 1,200, based on the percentage of the size
Right.
of the main dwelling. Because yeah, I do agree that a big house can make a bigger ADU look small, whereas that same ADU next to a small house will look out of place. Fortunately, this is, even if we go to 1,200, it's smaller than those gigantic ADUs that some people have tried to put on their detached garages, which I don't think are really the character that people want for the ADUs. There's one ADU that its foundation is bigger than the parents' house. Total.
So why don't we just use state law as our guide here? State law says 950 square feet.
Defined as what? Defined as the pad or defined as?
That's a good question. It does say the total living space of the accessory dwelling unit shall not exceed 950. I'm glad you brought that up.
Because you look at the size of this room, right?
Mhm.
And my parents' ADU is all of like 10 feet bigger than this. If that. You know, try fitting in a kitchen, a front room, a bedroom, a bathroom, and then tell me what space you have left. You know, try to put in furniture. As Pierre said, he's put in shelving units inside of things to make, you know, on one side a TV stand, the other side storage. You get really restricted when you get down to, you know, are we talking the four walls, or are we talking each individual space adding up to a number? And you really have to take into account of that. People have stairways, you know, different things like that. You know, that's all going to play into that number. Just imagine that. I mean, I know 50 years ago, a 1,000, 1,200 square foot house was huge to them. We are bigger people. We have bigger places now. We have more stuff. That is something that, you know, and I agree with, you know, you could have it both ways. You have a 1,200 square foot house. You don't want a 1,200 square foot ADU. I don't necessarily know that 40-50% is the right number. We're Litchfield. We're not Wyndham. There's something to be said for the houses in Wyndham versus Litchfield. Just, you know, saying that. But going back to the minimum, then there might need to be something in there that states that you can have smaller than 750 square foot if that's what somebody wants or they can afford. You can't force them to say, I want a single, you know, house with a small bathroom and a small front room, and it has to be 750. Kind of going back to what the building inspector said about removing the minimum.
Yeah, we are proposing we're removing the minimum. We just can never, if we go with a percentage, we can never say you can't have, that we can't require less than 750 under any circumstance.
So
Yes.
wording that I might prefer would be something like ADU may be no more than 750 square feet, or 75% of the main dwellings area up to 1,200 square feet, whichever is greater.
I'd probably word it slightly differently, but yeah, I could create that for now.
And then
And
the definition of total living space or gross living space says usually included living rooms, kitchens, bedrooms, bathrooms, dining rooms, hallways, and closets. Finished areas, heated, cooled spaces, finished attics with sufficient cooling, ceiling, blah, blah, blah. And then stairways counted on the floor they descend from.
Wait, where are you getting that?
I just did a
Just
Google
Googled it.
search.
Yeah, so I'll do that. I'll create that definition, essentially that, and we'll have it for next time.
yeah, so
We can see if we like it. You said up to 75%?
that would make sense to me for the small houses. We don't want to over restrict the small houses. Like, obviously it might look a little weird if we have something 75% of the size of it, but
Could you call the smaller house the ADU then?
I'd also put wording in there to say no more than, say, 2 bedrooms. 'Cause
Yeah, that's in there. That's already in there.
1,000 square foot house. Okay.
That's already in there. Sorry, so I'll come up with it for the next time. We're allowing ourselves the opportunity for yet another hearing after that if we wish, so we can play with it.
Let's just get down the exact numbers that the board wants. Like, my preference would probably be 75%, 1,200, minimum 750.
That sounds reasonable.
Using
I
the
could live
new
with that.
Okay.
As long as that includes all the closets and
Yeah.
minutia.
Yeah.
75%.
Let's just be clear so that the folks on the zoning board, the builders, the building inspector, us, all have a clear definition, and there's no
Yeah.
squishiness about, oh, this closet doesn't count.
Does it come in and
Oh, that
say
stairway doesn't count.
1,200 square feet, that doesn't include closet, doesn't, and all of a sudden it's.
Yeah, please, let's not do that again.
We'll be clear.
We'll define how we are defining total living. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
And just note to the board, like, every provision that we put in there is subject to relief from the zoning board. So I know we're trying to adjust a lot of circumstances, and we want to consider that how you know, put your words into place to try to adjust, because sometimes when you do that, it ends up being more problematic instead of just letting the effect of the zoning board, do its job.
We want to craft this in such a way that your job is easier.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying when we're talking about 75% or this or that, that's where I find in my experience, now put on my zoning board hat, that can be problematic, because I think when you're doing stuff like that, you're trying to address all different fact patterns that may come before the board, which is great, but sometimes it ends up having the a different effect.
Okay.
So it's just a balancing, and again, word choice is everything.
Yeah, the or is adding gray area.
We'll make it as clear as we can.
Yeah, I think the intent has been made clear in this meeting, and Jay will narrow it down to a legally sound interpretation.
Yep.
And do we have any other comments from the public that we wish to explicitly talk about before we send that to the next public hearing?
I have one thing to say.
Yep, go ahead.
If you're gonna allow up to 75% of the original unit, right? Do you wanna allow that on a detached ADU? Can you restrict the detached? to
It's
be
still
smaller?
gonna be no bigger than 1,200 square feet. So,
If you have,
so that, the only
what if
situation,
you have a 1,600 square foot house?
Well, I think technically that's permitted as is.
And then you put a one floor, 1,200 square foot detached accessory dwelling, it's gonna be bigger than the house. Say you have a Cape,
That's true.
and then you build a ranch detached, it's gonna be bigger than the Cape.
yeah, with a single floor, yeah. um, Do,
Just to put another wrinkle into your memory.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I would like to invite the board, if they wanna come see the ADUs that I built, to see the difference of taking out that space versus leaving. You know what I mean? There's several ones you can look at to see that, right? Taking out the stairwell, having that common hallway between, with the house, with the main house and the ADU. So, if you'd like to do that, I could set that up.
Thank you.
And you may wanna consider adding language saying under no circumstances, or however you wanna put it, that the accessory dwelling cannot be larger than the existing primary dwelling too. So that would kind of alleviate some of the discussions that we
Well,
were
it's,
having now.
it already says 75%, so it can't be.
Larger in footprint or larger in
Yeah,
footage?
Right.
square footage, yeah.
And we could decide maybe if we feel 70, well, I'll put it in at 75. If we think it's too big, we can always say it should be 50. It should be, you know, maybe 50 is the number.
But that makes a big difference if it's a ranch versus the two-story house.
It does.
Big difference.
It does change the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah. Personally, I don't like the 75%. I think you do a minimum 750, a maximum, you want to go 1,000 or 1,200. I think that's where you set it. And then you set those guidelines. Because you have a 4,000 square foot house, and you go 75, are you stopping them at 1,200?
Yes.
That would be the max.
That's
So
the
why have
intention.
75 in there?
The concern is if you look at some of the smaller houses in town, you know, the pre-war, the real small ones that maybe
Yeah.
1,000, 2,000, 1,200 square feet.
Right.
And then if we say you could have 1,200 square foot ADU, you basically have a duplex, or
Right.
you could have an ADU that's bigger than the main house.
Agreed.
That's why I was adding the 75%, so we'll keep it under that threshold.
Yeah, the majority of ADUs like would not fall on either end of the extreme. I think it's just to kind of put some guardrails on, keep people from thinking, oh, I can build an ADU the size of my little house, or beyond that. We want people to think about kind of balance and, you know, single
I
family.
think what Laura said, it's an accessory unit.
Right.
It's not a primary house to be a duplex.
Yeah, so, yeah, adding the 75% will make it so that for those small houses, we can it'll be slightly smaller. They can still, by right, do like 750 square feet.
Yeah, minimum is always gonna be 750, say, but set by the state.
A 1,600 square foot house could still do a 1,200 square foot ADU under that requirement.
So, this seems like it covers the edge cases where it really affects the character. But I don't want to be over restrictive with less than 75%. That's why I suggested 75%.
75% of the total square footage, 75% of the building envelope, the foundation size.
75% of the total living area as we're going to define.
And then there's the question on, do we want to add more requirements to about owner occupancy?
I mean, I didn't take issue with any of Ms. Gandy's comments. I thought all of them were useful and would be useful to the zoning board, so.
Yeah, unless there's concern, I figured I would just incorporate all of
Yeah,
them.
and that's why I feel including the kind of provision for owner occupancy.
Okay, so, we should, would someone like to make a motion to, send the amended, version of the ADU, amendments to public hearing on, would it be January sixth?
Yes.
Anything that we should discuss before someone makes that motion? Okay, would someone like to make that motion?
Do we need to like lay it all out, or I don't have it off the top of my
I
head.
think it's good enough.
I'll
I'll
make a
wait,
motion to send the accessory dwelling unit, section 507, to public hearing on January 6th, as amended, for further discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion to, send the proposed, the accessory dwelling unit changes with the amendments made during this meeting to the public hearing on January sixth. We have a second?
I'll second.
I have just one question. Is this gonna come before us? Probably, right? Come before the board for approval?
Which board?
No,
Goes on the ballot.
no.
I just wanted to make sure that, twice.
Okay. So any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion to send this to public hearing on January sixth, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? So motion passes 5-0-0. Okay, so the other things we have to send to public hearing before we move on to the new items include home occupations. So did we?
We did make some substantial change there as well, didn't we?
Yeah, the suggested change is that where we say conditional uses, to just say conditional use permit to be consistent.
Okay, so this one's pretty simple. Would someone like to make a motion to send the amended home occupation zoning to public hearing on January sixth?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay. So next, we had the definition of a duplex / two-family residence. Did we have any changes there?
Just adding the word "be."
So that is
Yeah.
not substantive. So,
Right, and that was actually already done, it just didn't make it onto this on-screen one, so yeah.
so in that case, do we wish to send to a second public hearing, or can we send it to warrant?
You could if you wish, yeah.
This was the will of the board on that.
I feel comfortable with it. I don't think it wasn't particularly a point of interest with the audience, nor has it been. But if we would like to wait for other members of
We
the
had a
board.
lot of input at the last.
I think this is really good for participation.
So,
Yeah.
So would someone like to make a motion to send this to the, would that be the 2026 warrant?
Right,
Yes.
So would someone like to make a motion to send this, send the updated definition of a duplex or two-family residence to warrant for 2026?
so moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to send the duplex / two-family residence definition to warrant, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. And lastly, we have the solar energy system. So the only change that we wanted, like the main change was to clarify when you do and don't need the site plan.
Right, that residential accessory use doesn't require site plan, so I'll add that.
Okay. Any other changes that we wish to make to that? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to send the amended proposed solar energy system requirement, section 2300, to public hearing on January 6th?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of sending the proposed requirements of solar energy systems, section 2300 to public hearing on January 6th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Motion passes 500. Okay, so now the new items. So, amend section 1504, temporary civic municipal signs on Albuquerque. And then later on, we'll also discuss foundation certifications and CIP impact fees, Department of Public Works facilities, and zoning changes. So, first up is the municipal signs. So this one I know that members of the public have some thoughts on. Earlier on, we had someone talk about their petition to, with the petition being to just remove the section that bans the signs. And that, we would have to be careful with that because it would change the character of Albuquerque, because that would also permit commercial, which is only really applicable in the top section. So that's, and at that point, it would just be the standard sign regulations of the town. So, any discussion we'd like to do before we open that up to before we ask the public for any input?
I could just read the proposed change and maybe explain it.
Sounds good.
So right now, the language is, essentially that no signs except town and state highway direction and regulatory signs may be used on Albuquerque. The suggestion is to add additional language that would say, no signs except town and state highway direction and regulatory signs and temporary signs, promoting or related to municipal or civic programs, events, and activities may be used on Albuquerque. So the intent here is to allow temporary signs promoting not just municipal, but what we call municipal and civic programs, events, and activities. So maybe that's not sufficiently clear, but the intent was, to allow the school to, allow a, civic organization, nonprofit group to promote an event.
Yeah.
So that's what's proposed.
Yeah, and including the civic programs, events, and activities probably would satisfy the majority of the concerns. So,
Yeah, I think my only question that probably relates to the question of people that are here would be like, how does it relate to groups of residents that are not like affiliated with an organization? Like if it was just, like a neighborhood block group wanting to have something, how does that work? Is it defined and they're just kind of going on their honor? Or do they have to go before the select board for approval, the planning board? What would, that's kind of my question, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a good question. I think the intent was, these are kind of civic programs and events like a parade, not necessarily a yard sale, or I think that was the intent.
Mhm.
It could be broader if we wished it to be.
Yeah. And it's just kind of like a honor system, not like a approval type thing, right? From what I see here, they're not going for any approval.
yeah, like realistically, this is enforced by the road agent, right? Who goes around and removes the non-compliant signs.
Or doesn't. You see all the time.
Like garage sale signs, those are up for a day. And I see those on Albuquerque all the time.
Yeah.
And I would want them on Albuquerque, as long as they're only there for a day or two.
What about political signs? What about as you're approaching Campbell High School on voting day, both sides of the street are lined with signs?
You can't regulate
They,
those.
they have their own rules.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can put up a vote for Russ sign on my frontage of Albuquerque and,
But you have to have it down in a certain amount of time.
okay?
And your fiscal agent.
Assume there's any fiscal responsibility here at all.
Okay, so I'm curious to hear about the public comment on this item. So, any members of the public wish to comment on the proposed language change?
I'm gonna comment, I haven't seen this, so I'm just gonna sneak over here to read it.
Let me try to
Sorry.
make that a little bigger for you.
No,
Sorry about that.
No signs except town and state highway direction and regulatory signs and temporary signs promoting or related to municipal or civic programs, events, and activities may be used on Albuquerque Avenue.
How are you defining temporary? That would be the question. Are you defining it as the 2 weeks prior, the 1 week after?
Let's let Laura talk, consider.
Do you wanna go?
No,
You can go. Laura Gandia, 3 Chamberlain Drive. I was made aware of the proposed warrant article that's coming in front of the planning board to repeal this in its entirety. I am opposed to that because I think when there's a knee-jerk reaction to, somebody feeling like the zoning may not be worded the way they want it to, they want to get rid of it. And I think sometimes that can be short-sighted and result in some unintended consequences for that. As this board is, I'm sure, is aware, Albuquerque was set up to have a certain look and feel to it. There's no driveways that are allowed on Albuquerque. It has a unique history in town. And it's my understanding that that is done, again, to maintain a certain rural character in the town and not to allow signs. So I am opposed to that particular suggestion that was made earlier. And with this one, I'm going to express the same type of concerns because, again, temporary signs promoting, that's very broad. That could be anything at any time. This board may or may not be aware, the town of Litchfield, this particular piece of property, and Campbell High School is exempt from zoning regulations under the governmental land use statute, which is 674:54. So they can put up, meaning here, and Campbell can put up signs promoting different, as exactly what you have here, municipal or civic programs. And I think a more prudent course of action would be if somebody wanted a sign to do that they could check with the Board of Selectmen and put that sign up here. And again, we don't want the town hall turning into a sign festival either. So there needs to be some, prudence and discernment with that. But I think, concerns about the senior pictures, like, oh, we can't have those. Those are in violation of the town zoning. It's not, Town hall can do that. They're exempt from the state statutes, 674:54. I wouldn't want to open up the door to allow temporary signs, especially the way that's worded, because I think that is broad and there's a lot that could happen with that change, and that a lot could be detrimental to the town's history of keeping Albuquerque a certain way.
Can we ask this, please, you want to comment? Sorry,
Yeah,
for interrupting.
sorry, Vince LaMagna, 36 Woodhawk. Just the definition of temporary. You say the word temporary, and I could say it's going to be up there for a week, and unless you're keeping track of it, it's there for a month.
So in the ordinance, temporary signs are 30 days or less, maximum of 30 days.
Okay. Yep, I'm agree with that.
John Burnell, 6 Bear Run Drive. I'm actually here representing the road agent. I am a member of the Board of Selectmen. Initially, the board did request that this be looked at because of the graduation signs. I don't think we expected it to be globally up and down Albuquerque and this kind of wide ranged, but ultimately it came up because we were concerned about, no one knew the history of the original ordinance and what it actually meant and where the restrictions would be. Laura brings up a great point. The signs were on town property as far as the complex here was, so it kind of gets away from that. The road agent has expressed real concerns with the ordinance in general and allowing signs up and down Albuquerque. They're tasked with maintaining that bike path and the mowing. And during the mowing time, if these signs are out there, it's going to cause delay, adding additional hours and effort to kind of maintain the property. The issue around temporary signs, 30 days, who's really watching them? We all know signs will stick around for a while. And I know that the road agent has been taking signs down too soon because he's not tracking them either. We have no history when these signs went up. They've just been there a long time and they feel the time is clocked, right? So I just advise you in a sense that this is going to be an impact to the town from a cost and maintenance perspective, so think of it that way is one concern We have a very small department, and the wintertime and the summertime, they're under a lot of stress to maintain what they have to maintain. So think of that as when you consider the ramifications of your decision. I can think of one other petition warrant article, which we're not really talking about. A citizen petition brought forward the fire hydrant removal from the user ratepayers, and now the town is saddled with a $500,000 bill every year. It was only 200,000 or less when we first took it on, but over the last 5 or 6 years, it's grown significantly. So, again, this will have impact to the highway department. Again, limited resource, and like I said, the board recently brought it forward with really trying to just deal with the students' graduation that started during COVID and kind of allowing that to maintain without getting anybody higher up about doing it, and not allowing it anyplace else. So that's all I can say there. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Corey Flint, 123 Hillcrest.
Amber, same address.
I'm the one who put forth the petition for the citizens warrant for the changing of the sign ordinance on Albuquerque. One more time, would you tell me what your proposed changes in the ordinance?
It would be to allow essentially temporary signs promoting or related to municipal or civic programs, events, and activities.
Okay. And civic events and activities is town sponsored events?
Or a civic organization like a Rotary Club or an Elks Club or veterans. And
What about a private citizen?
would not include a private citizen.
Okay. So that's where I have issue with that, because,
I have a question.
sure.
As far as, what you put on your lot wouldn't be on Albuquerque.
According to the road agent, it's
Within your setbacks, within
According-
20 feet of Albuquerque.
according to the road, it's not 20 feet, it's 75 feet,
75, right.
which is into our trees. So that, can put a sign out there, then they're hidden in the trees, people can't see it. Besides that, we put on the 4th of July parade and the car show here in town. We would like to put directional signs for Dara Pond for the car show, so that we can get people to Dara Pond and back who are unfamiliar with the town. We would like to put up advertising for the parade to get more public interest along Albuquerque as well as the rest of the roads in town. That would fix the problem for the fishing derby and for the Christmas in Litchfield, but it doesn't fix the problem for me. So that's why I put forth the petition. When I had been discussing it previously, some of the discussion was about freedom of speech issues. How can you let one group put out signs and not another group put out signs? So that's why I just decided to ask to rescind the whole policy. Essentially, all I really want to do is allow temporary signs to be put out on Albuquerque. Prior to the enforcement of this, there were not a lot of signs on Albuquerque. When we moved here, this wasn't being enforced, and then a few years later, it was for whatever reason, it was pushed and enforced. And if you go down Charles Barkley Highway, if you go down Meadowbrook Lane, if you go down any of the other roads in town, there are not a lot of temporary signs up for anywhere for long periods of time. And most of them, for instance, when we put out parade signs or car show signs are expensive. We go get them so we can use them next year. I think, yes, there's going to be a small impact of signs on Albuquerque. I don't think there's going to be a large impact that's going to cause, extra hours of road agent time mowing when he's just going to go around them. I think that the unintended consequences of the current ordinances that we're not allowing the people the ability, or I guess the non-civic people of Litchfield to have their opportunity to express what they need to the town along the road. If I were to put up a garage sale sign or yard sale sign, that's not something that's going to be up for weeks or months. It's just a weekend. If I wanted to put a for sale sign out or a free table out on Albuquerque, again, it's just, I don't want to wait 4 weeks to do that while, I wait for the next selectman meeting to get approval to put my sign out. I want to do it that weekend. So, it may be spur of the moment. It may not be that planned out. So what I'm saying is, if we can come to
it just needs to be better worded so we can be included in it. Like the skeletons, I would love to have signs out there. For the car show and the parade, I would love to have signs in Albuquerque. We have been putting directional signs the day of, and we pick them up the day of. Just because people don't know where to park. The handicap parking, like there's lots of workings on to go with the car show and the parade to direct everyone for all the events. So we're just looking for a way that we can have those signs out there. That's all.
And, and like I said, if we can come up with a compromise, I'd be happy to rescind that petition.
Yeah.
Or pull the petition, or to withdraw my support from it, whatever I need to do.
I'm sure you can see the potential side effects that go beyond the uses that you talk about, like commercial uses.
Yep.
With the way it's.
There's already about 8 permanent signs along Albuquerque, and there's one commercial business along Albuquerque. The rest of, there's very little frontage of houses on Albuquerque, like mine. Probably, 8 to 10% of the houses are the residents that abut Albuquerque or have actual frontage without forest. So I think that the commercial sign, the opportunities for commercial signs are probably pretty low.
Yeah, there's only one section of Albuquerque that would be of concern there, and that's the very northernmost, where it intersects with Charles Bancroft Highway. There is some in progress development being proposed.
But you do get commercial signs tacked onto everything, and they should be coming down, because section C says no off-premises signs. So that should be enforced, and those, like leaf raking and all that stuff, should come down.
I definitely see your point, and I support it. I understand what you guys are going for. My concern is, if it's completely rescinded, you're gonna do the right thing. You're gonna put your sign out, you're gonna pick it back up, because like you said, it's expensive, and you're gonna reuse it. It's the people that are going to put a sign out, and then who is policing it? Who is responsible for picking it up? Who is responsible for cleaning it? It's gonna become the road agent's problem. And then, if a sign's standing erect, not on the ground, can he touch it? He has to literally move it. Now, like I said, you're the exception. You'll do the right thing. But it's the people that are gonna be, putting signs out, and then our road agent can't touch it. Or he has to get off the lawnmower, move it, cut, get back on and go again. And if he removes it, what happens? Can he get in trouble? Well, what is the violation? Who's gonna enforce it? What's the policing? And I think that's the concern. You say you don't see much of them because he does pick them up. If they're on the road,
Now,
they are cleaned up.
prior to the enforcement, I had.
That's why he was picking them up.
If you drive down Charles Barkley Highway, how many signs do you see sitting there?
Yeah.
Very few.
I understand, but the concern is as the town grows, so does the potential of more, what can literally become trash on the side of the road. If it's lying on the side, then Kevin or his crew can pick it up and throw it away. But if it's standing up, somebody comes and say, what did you do with my signs? You can't touch that. You know, that's the concern, right, John? That's the big concern. And it's gonna add, it may be minor, but if you're cutting the grass, how many times do you wanna stop? Get off the mower, shut it off, move the sign, get back on, let's go.
They're not gonna do that, they're just gonna go around
They
it.
will go around just like they do on all the other roads.
Yeah, it's,
When you put these signs out, do you do it on your side of the, or would you want to do it?
We do it on our side, on the resident side of the bike path. We don't
in
put
front of
anything.
his house. Do you know where he lives? He lives right here. But like he was saying, they were down, when he does the parade or the car show, he'll put a sign down in front of CHS or Dara.
Mhm.
And that would be on the opposite side of the bike path, putting people in. And it's, you know, can we allow it on one side, not on the other? But then it doesn't work in that situation because. the bike
Right.
path
Because at that point, it's within the road right of way.
Yes, in that situation.
In front of his house, he can keep it far enough back where it is technically on his.
No, it's still
still
not.
It's still within the 75-foot
Yep.
right of way of the town.
It would be allowed, but in terms of like what ends up being proposed, yeah, what is?
I think the wording just needs to be right on it, that's all. So, and I don't know what that wording could be, but it's just, we would like to be included.
Could that wording be adjusted to allow residents who own property that abuts Albuquerque to place signs, but disallow anyone who doesn't have that property that abuts Albuquerque?
That doesn't help his directional signs, though.
It doesn't help the direction signs,
Yeah.
granted, yeah.
Yeah, if we
Yeah.
want direction signs, then it, like the direction that probably makes sense to me is require a temporary permit for that.
But then if it goes to the Board of Selectmen, then you wait whatever amount of time to try to get
Right.
that done.
I mean, the only problem with, I love seeing other stuff, and like the only kind of logical problem I can think through with like allowing directionals and, you know, a kind of lawless land where people can do that is you can have someone, you know, you don't want to imagine that people would, but you could just kind of create chaos direction signs. And I know that's not anything you folks would do, but it's like if everyone can do it, and I would say I want to send all these people that are headed to Campbell High School and tell them that it's at McElwain Drive, at where the middle school is. I mean, theoretically, like we don't have any recourse to say, well, these folks are good, upstanding citizens that are pointing people in the right direction, and these are just some, you know, teenagers that are trying to create havoc.
Yeah, but
What do we do there?
you can do that on every other road except Albuquerque.
Right. Exactly. But
So,
it's
I mean, what's the
we have
difference?
that kind of history with Albuquerque that.
What-
If you're gonna engage in that sort of mischief, you're not gonna be regulated by the zoning anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna put that sign in whether it's allowed or not.
You are, but I think it's important to kind of think about the kind of all or nothing, which seems like where we're getting with directionals. Because I mean, there's a certain aspect of liability there, I mean, not on the town, but I mean, you know, that's why we don't allow everyone in the world to put up directional signs.
Well, you do, as long as it's not on Albuquerque.
So I have a question for you. So when you are doing the car show, what regulatory process do you have to follow for that? Do you have to do anything?
We file, we have a, the parade permit for the parade and the car
Yeah, so
show.
there's a permit for the parade, there's a separate one for the car show. And then it all goes and gets reviewed by all the town, like the road agent and the
Right.
fire and police.
And
and-
then approved by the selectmen.
Right.
Yeah, I see what you're doing
Seems
with that.
pretty straightforward to say that we might have to add some language here, but those type of events, you're already going through an approval process, and I think it's very easy to default to, you're allowed to put
Yeah,
signs.
or put you know, on the applications, I guess it would be called, have a box that's simply, will you be placing road signs on Albuquerque?
These sound like they
I
are
know, it's another
temporary
process,
signs
another hurdle,
promoting
but-
or related to a municipal or civic program, event, or activity.
In those examples, they would absolutely fall into this exception.
No, they would not, because I think the parade is private.
Yeah,
And the car show,
show is private.
yeah.
Oh, then,
So
yeah,
that's
then
a
it wouldn't.
civic program.
No, they're not.
It's not.
They're not tied to an organization. So I was gonna
It's-
suggest, and the same thing I think where you're going, Steve, is that they're already going through a process to get police support and support
all the agencies that would enforce this are aware of it. So maybe on those applications, we add, like I said, checkbox, we'll be putting directional signs on Albuquerque and it'll take care of the problem. And as long as they pick them up, which they do, there'd be no issue. And just one other clarification on maybe point two, because I've talked to Corey a couple of times, and when I spoke earlier with the road agent, we talked about Corey's property. And he recognizes the fact that Corey and his wife do decorations and have stuff there. They're not concerned about that overhang there because they know they maintain the property. Going around a sign and not mowing it, we're gonna get a phone call going, the grass is long on Albuquerque Y, right? Even in small patches. There's expectations from the community that the thing will be constantly mowed and it looks appropriate as you're walking down the street. But Corey does maintain his property, and that's not an issue. And I don't think the road agent has any concerns with it, from that perspective. He has a greater concern about the broad reduction of it and all that. Again, I think it's reality. People do put signs out and they do take them back, and if they're up there too long, the road agent will pick them up and that'll continue happening, ordinance or not, I guess, at this point. But I think the problem is solved by just making sure it's captured in the application that we already have. We already gone through all this change to have these applications. It's an easy checkbox to put there.
So I could add language here that says, or an event or program,
Approved.
subject to a permit approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Could add that.
Bingo.
So I think that's how we should go for those types of directional signs. There's no more paperwork that you will need to file if we do this change.
Now, what about if I want to put a garage sale sign, or for sale sign, or a free table out? How does that cover me?
Well,
Huh?
Hillcrest.
How dare we?
I kind of would be opposed, like, I kind of would like to explicitly allow, like, garage sale signs, like, to say that they're allowed for, like, 2 days or something like that.
How do you enforce it though?
People
should
How
self-enforce
enforce right now.
Yeah, I agree they should.
Because
self-enforce.
people do, and I wouldn't want it to be any different than it is now, which is, it's out there for such a short period of time, and those types of signs are not expensive ones, so I think, we have another member of the public that wants to.
Drive by Albuquerque, where it connects with Page Road, you'll see every single garage sale sign that's going on in the town. I mean, that's kind of like the high point, and I know it's not Albuquerque, so it's a safe zone to place it. And those signs sometimes are there for weeks afterwards, you know, because they're not cheap, they're not expensive signs. The water gets on them and they just kind of disintegrate. And down Cutler Road's the same way. They'll put a ton of them going down Cutler and at the corner of Cutler and 102. So those seem to be the high points where I see a lot of signs.
Like, here's an idea for garage sale signs, is they are allowed up to a certain many days in advance, and the day that they say, because most garage sale signs are dated. And if the road agent sees one that's past the date, you can just trash it.
Have the date on there,
Yeah.
Well, right
Is there
now
a
in the
requirement
ordinance,
to put a date on there, on the back side of it somewhere? If somebody questions how long this has been here, been here for 2 weeks, okay, go.
I think most garage sale signs are for the weekends.
Exactly, they
It's
usually
strict
put, it's
date.
gonna be Saturday and Sunday, or,
Yeah.
you know, from 9 to 5, okay?
No different than an open house, right?
But what's Saturday and Sunday? And I don't think we want to regulate garage sale signs either by requiring what content is going to be on garage sale sign. And that's what this particular section, I do have concerns from a First Amendment that we're regulating content for signs for municipal and civic programs. I don't know if I'm overthinking it, but I think that's a content-based regulation that may subject us to some particular challenges. Why can't I put another sign that's not municipal or civic related? Why are we regulating the content of what sign is allowed on Charles Bancroft Highway and what sign is not? And again, we're, putting two enforcement issues with repealing a zoning together, and I think that's problematic. And I think another thing that's problematic is the fact that we now have a validly submitted petition warrant article that cannot, as my understanding, cannot be withdrawn. So it's there, that's going on the ballot, and again, I think that's, You know, that's very concerning. So now if we, meaning you folks, put another ballot, petition warrant article, then this is gonna get messy. Like, can we say, well, if this one fails, this one passed, if this, I mean, it's going to be incredibly complicated, it's going to be messy. And the thing that I think we're trying to do, and I was always told that you shouldn't do it, is legislate or make rules to accommodate the minority. And I know what they do, and they do a great job, you know, getting community involved with all their activities, and I love seeing what they do. But does this town want to legislate or make changes to accommodate one property owner? My experience is that when that is done, it becomes problematic. So I would be very cautious about, you know, just changing a whole entire zoning to accommodate one person. If it's a directional sign, those directional signs can go on the town property. Why can't the town put directional signs on there if they wanted to? I mean, not saying for a particular event, but if people in town don't know where Dara Pond is or where the school is, I mean, that's another issue in and of itself. But if we needed to put something out there.
People from out of town.
We're not talking about people in town, we're talking about people from out of town. People come to car shows from other places,
Sure.
other towns.
I mean, then the town may want to consider investing in putting a directional sign at the four corners. I mean, that would, if it's a directional sign issue, that would eliminate those concerns. But repealing it in its entirety does open up the town to a change in the look and feel of Albuquerque. And I do have concerns with that, especially, you know, again, the Economic Development Committee. You know, a lot of the concerns raised there was the look and feel of the town, keeping the rural character at the agricultural feel. Repealing it in its entirety, again, can open us up to things that maybe weren't considered initially.
Okay, and also, we're not just doing this just for us to be the priority in town. That is absolutely not why we're doing this. It is for everybody on Albuquerque who wants to put a sign up can put a sign up.
Yeah, and
That is why we're doing it.
you know, we'll let the people, we did this to let the people decide. If they say yes, great. If they say no, fine. We'll abide by whatever the people say.
Okay, so here's my thought. So we allow, like, if we have to add any language to the zoning for permitted events, we allow that within the right of way of Albuquerque. And then also for that, within the right of way of Albuquerque, it might make sense to explicitly allow dated garage sale signs, as long as they're removed within the day, within 24 hours of the time on, like the day of the garage sale, with some other requirements maybe, and allow temporary non-commercial signs maybe. I would have to input on whether or not there's a freedom of speech concern there, but maybe temporary non-commercial signs on private property. So hopefully not within the right of way.
That's already allowed. So right now, anybody on any lot in Litchfield is allowed one temporary sign for up to 30 days. So that is across the board, except on Albuquerque.
So that's a
In the right of way.
On your lot, I should say on your lot. So
So a
if
property
your
owner
lot is
with-
on it, right, you can't put it in the Albuquerque right away, but if your lot abuts it, you can put it in your property. So that's the way it is today. And then that's content neutral. It doesn't matter if it's a garage sale, open house.
So I have
My kid's
frontage in
graduating, it
Albuquerque.
doesn't matter.
I can use 3 sides of my property to place a sign, but I can't place the sign on my Albuquerque side, where it's likely to be
No, you
seen by
can.
people who I
You
would
can.
want to have.
If it's on your lot, you can put it on your property. Outside the right.
That's
75 foot.
right of way.
Yeah.
That's,
Right.
you know,
So
quite deep into my yard and not visible from the
So-
road.
Yep, that's
Exactly.
exactly it.
another comment.
Maybe with the volume of warrant articles that we already have, they have one proposed that's going in front of the town, see what happens.
Yeah.
Decide on this next year. I can tell you right now, as the moderator of this town, people are gonna regret seeing how many warrant articles are on there. People are gonna be voting for over an hour. It is torture to see how long and how many warrants are gonna be out there this year.
There's 27.
I'm just telling you, from that aspect, it'd be nice to have
Including
less.
the,
I mean, I will say, it may be confusing for the voters to have two
Yeah.
differently worded.
So I think
Take ours out.
Right.
it would probably be the will of the board to not recommend the proposed petition.
But it's still going
No,
on
you
the
have
ballot.
to, it goes on the ballot.
no, so.
Oh, you, right.
His is going
Right.
on
Oh,
the ballot.
yeah,
We can-
recommend or not recommend, yeah.
We could, you can remove yours.
Right.
Yeah, we can pull ours. His is going on.
And, but then the planning board has to say yay or nay on his.
And then if the people, citizens decide that they want it, then if we decide that, oh no, there's some loopholes
Then
that
we
we
fix
don't
next
want,
year.
like commercial, then we'd have,
We correct it the following cycle.
yeah, we'd have 1 year where they're permitted. And,
See what
yeah,
happens.
we're probably gonna get some commercial signs on Albuquerque,
Yeah.
during that year.
Good year for
But then
advertising.
use the off
Trial
premises
period.
rule.
Yes. So when it comes to that, it'll be on the ballot regardless, and all it would say supported or not supported by.
Recommended or not recommended, right? Right.
I think that's the most straightforward, because what we're doing here, I think, is really confusing, and I think
Yeah.
ultimately, the citizens warrant article will allow the voters to speak as to what they want to see in Albuquerque.
Okay, well, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When I come to a vote on that, I do support this citizens warrant article. So we would have a split vote where part of the board supports, doesn't support it, I support it. We would have that on the ballot as our vote.
Yeah, I think you can do that, have,
Yeah, you can, you do put the vote.
Yeah, not supported by the planning board by vote of 5-1,
That's right.
0, or something
That's
to
right.
that effect,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever the vote turns out as.
My biggest concern is the potential unintended consequences.
Slippery slope.
Which there are many.
so are you gonna wait to vote on that when you have the full board? On-
Yeah, I think we
on
should,
that?
I think we should agenda it,
Yeah, it needs to,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, so we can put it on for the 6th, yeah.
And yeah, if, regardless of whether or not that passes, I think we do have some potential, ideas for the future.
So then what are you gonna do with the planning board version?
Table
Well,
it.
It sounds like the concern is that it would be too confusing to have both, so,
So, right, so there
and,
just won't be a motion to move it forward, so that's tabling it essentially. There's no further action.
yeah, and I'll probably, if I can, be there at the,
Deliberative.
deliberative,
to
so I can
speak
talk about it
about
and
it,
say,
yeah.
say, here's why we voted that way, here are the concerns. If you're okay with those concerns, vote for it, or vote in favor, if not, vote against it.
Yeah, put the information out there and let the voters choose what they want to do with it.
And of course, I'll probably also mention that, if you like the idea but don't like the implementation, please come to the planning board meetings for us to create new zoning
Yeah.
for the next. Okay?
Which gives me a segue to say thank you to everyone who's here this evening. You've all helped the process along.
Yes, yeah.
Your input
Participation's
your input is
helpful.
welcomed and appreciated.
So yeah, we're not done yet though.
I want to get that out before the folks all scatter. The mass exiting.
So next we have, foundation certifications. New section for this is me.
And so this was another one, concern that came, from the building inspector and also related to, some cases that had gone before the zoning board more recently. And, what we discovered was, although most towns do have a requirement that when a foundation is put in, you provide a, certified plan, stamped by a licensed surveyor or engineer, Litchfield does not have that practice. And so obviously that allows an issue to continue through full construction. So the suggestion here is to really just add that requirement, which would make Litchfield's requirements very similar to other communities. And not surprisingly, this is heavily based on what other communities are requiring.
So yeah, for context, within the last year, we've had 2 cases of equitable waivers come to the zoning board of adjustment because they messed up the location of their foundation and they didn't double check it before they continued building. So this would require it prior to framing, so they'll still put in the foundation.
Right.
And if they mess up, they
Pull out the foundation.
they could probably cut parts of the foundation and then pour new sections
building
at
out
the
of the foundation.
at the setback probably, and then adjust their building for that. Because that would probably be like what, $20,000 mistake rather than a $200,000 mistake.
Exactly.
Which is why they ask for equitable waivers, because that's very cost prohibitive to have a $200,000 to maybe even $500,000 mistake there. So yeah, the proposed wording is for all new construction, including additions, a foundation certification plan stamped by a New Hampshire licensed land surveyor certifying that the foundation meets zoning setback requirements must be submitted prior to framing. The plan must include foundation dimensions, distances to all property lines, setback lines, and any wetland locations or shorelands and associated buffers, if applicable. The building inspector may waive this requirement if he or she finds that due to the location of the foundation on the property or for other good reason, that certification is unnecessary. So that would leave that waiving up to the building inspector, so we don't have any guidance. Do any towns provide guidance on that, or they just let that?
Yeah, I mean, it's based on judgment. You can't write every possibility into an ordinance, but the intent there is where you have a large piece of property and it's very clear that somebody's building an addition and there's already been a foundation plan, there's already been a plan approved. You know it's not gonna impede in setbacks. You don't make them go through the cost of having another certified foundation. That's really the intent.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, like in that scenario, like if the addition's gonna get close to a setback, then they wouldn't.
Right, the general rule is you do, but where there's good cause, and that's the case. I mean, it's really intended to address additions where you already have a plan that shows it, it's very clear.
And
It's
they would
not gonna
have
be an
to
issue.
really mess up to somehow get anywhere near this.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't, right? I mean, so that's the intent, or a very large piece of property.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of it.
It's in the middle of it, right.
Any questions or comments on the board? So yeah, I'm definitely happy with this proposal. I think this will be good to prevent those problems. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment on this proposal?
Sure.
Laura Gandia, actually this time I am speaking as the chair of the zoning board. I just wanted to echo your point that we did receive 2 requests for equitable waivers of dimensional requirements based on this, and we were bound by what was contained in the state statute for the criteria for equitable waiver, but there were concerns expressed by the board about how to address these 2 that just came to us fast and furious. So we are, well, I am, on behalf of the board, very pleased to see this matter move forward.
Any other members of the public who wish to comment? So I guess if there are no further comments, would someone like to make a motion to send the Section 409 Foundation Certification Plan to public hearing on January 6th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to, for the Section 409 Foundation Certification Plan, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. Okay.
And maybe last but not least, this is a really, really simple change. But it was discovered in one of our communities actually that who were interested in using impact fees to support a new public works facility. The interpretation of their attorney was It's not specifically listed in the statute, therefore you can't do it. So there was a change in, it was legislation proposed last year, which passed, adding public works to the specific list of things that you can charge impact fees for. So this is a very minor amendment to the town zoning ordinance, which adds the words public works facilities to the list so that the town could use, impact fees to support a public works facility.
What type of buildings are public works?
Typically, DPW garage. Sometimes it could be a DPW headquarters if you've got one, but usually it's a garage.
Oh, that sounds like it would make sense to include.
Yeah.
Impact fees for those.
I personally always read the statute to be inclusive of that, but nevertheless, let's be clear.
And Kevin did bring forward on the CIP, or the road agent, I should say, not Kevin, the road agent brought forward on the CIP request long-term to have a large shed for his equipment in the garage.
Okay, I think, this is a pretty straightforward change. Any discussion? Any public comment on adding public works facilities to impact, to become eligible for impact fees?
Send them all. Every dollar.
Okay, I guess, we have a lot of.
I know.
So many zoning, so many zoning amendments for this, year's warrant.
As John said, it's 26 on the ballot this year.
Wow. Okay,
So
so,
I'm not gonna be inside to help you, I'm gonna be outside.
You what?
I'm outside. I'm running again this year, so I'm not inside.
okay, so, would someone like to make a motion to, send the proposed amended section 1301.03 impact fees for the inclusion of public works facilities to public hearing on January 6th?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0-0. Okay. So let's. Any other zoning changes?
No, thank you.
That's it.
I think we have enough this year.
It's gonna cost a fortune to print them.
Did we get the additional scanner for the ballots?
I think we did.
We're gonna need it.
Mr. Moderator, can we ask you a question? Steve?
Sorry.
Were you able to order the additional scanner for ballots?
Yep.
So we'll have
The
three?
additional machine, yeah.
3? Oh,
We're gonna
yeah,
need 3
two.
more.
Again, that big.
Yes, we are.
It's a good thing we're gonna have an additional one, because with the amount of zoning, warrant articles, it's gonna need more pieces of paper. Every single piece of paper takes so many seconds on those machines. Okay, so, next up on the agenda is committee reports. So any, committee reports?
The conservation swans are frozen, but they'll be chipping them out of the Dara Pond.
The decoy ones?
Yeah, the decoys,
They
not the real
stay too long.
swans.
Okay.
Board of Selectmen, we meet on the 29th. 22nd, we pushed it for a week. And, we've just been doing a lot, as you see, a lot of ballots and adjustments.
Good. Is there a, there's a warrant article this year for, the road, like funds for the road, right?
Yes, yes.
Is that the funds that are normally default being moved into a warrant article, or is there additional?
No,
to-
so during COVID, that was removed. It's $200,000. We're trying to put it back in, but it was modified at the last one as $150,000 to go back into the paving funds. And then there's state funds.
Yeah, it makes sense to do that because, yeah, if they're not maintained, long-term costs can go up.
Exactly.
Because, yeah, once the base layer starts to get impacted.
Yeah, and Kevin does a great job, the road agent does a great job with his planning, so he knows what roads he's trying to pave each year, and then 5-year run.
Any other committee reports? Okay, next we have the November 18th minutes. Did anyone have any proposed changes to that?
Minutes looked good to me as written.
Feels so warm with that.
I think there was something, yeah, it was almost a month. I think there was one small change. Let me look through. For the motion for the specifying the date as December 16th for the public hearing for the zoning amendments, it says zoning minutes, I think, unless I misspoke, it was supposed to be zoning amendments.
What page?
Page 5 near the bottom.
Oh, good catch.
Zoning.
Any other proposed amendments to the minutes?
I have nothing.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the November 18th, 2025 minutes as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve the November 18th, 2025 minutes, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstained, motion passes 5-0-0. So next is any other business, and I do see a bond reduction in the portal.
Oh, I didn't put that on the agenda.
Yeah, I don't see it on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Who was that for? I forget.
Talarico Street?
Oh, right. That came in.
Can we add it to the 6th?
Yeah, can we add it to the 6th?
Yeah, so that's just.
I put it on there, but I didn't put it on the agenda. Bond reduction.
So, yeah, the bond reduction is just construction has happened. We're gonna subtract the costs of the work
Right.
that's done, right?
Right.
So, gonna be a little longer before they get their money back, unfortunately, but, gotta follow process.
Yes, I must have put it out there on the board. On here, didn't you? It's not on the portal, changed. Right,
It's not on the portal agenda, no.
okay, all right, we'll put January 6th.
Okay. So that will be January 6th then?
Yep.
Any other business?
Got your land use books, latest edition.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. and-
They're a nice powder blue.
Is there any update on the chapter of the, what's it called?
Master plan.
Master plan, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I think we were planning on that for the 6th also.
And we have a voluntary merger.
Yeah, the
Shouldn't
one that
take
was
long.
going to be on the second.
Right, so it could be a long agenda. Yeah, we figured it was gonna be too much to put that on the agenda
Yeah.
tonight.
Is,
So we'll put the next
we're already at 2.5 hours.
So, yeah,
That was a very productive.
it was.
Board of Selectmen, he won't get out of here before 11.
Okay, anything else? Which, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You sure you want that? We could go on longer.
That's the personal record here.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes 5-0-0. Okay, thanks for watching and attending the December 16th meeting. Our next meeting will be on January 6th.
Okay, so